Right, that's what is being asked here tonight. Is a preliminary investigation by Israel's military. The IDF says, I just have to say, it takes between 10 and 15 minutes for a missile to get from Yemen to Israel. And the first initial question that was being asked is, how did it enter Israeli airspace? How did that happen? That's the first question. And the IDF, Israel's military, says it hasn't got a clear answer to that. The second question is, once it was in Israeli airspace, why wasn't it stopped by its anti-missile intercept, the Iron Dome? And the answer to that may be, as a preliminary look, that it actually disintegrated in midair by itself. And that some of the damage that we see, for example, the fires in that open area, are when the bits of the missile and the bits of the intercept fall there in that open area or fall next to the train station, which was another area that was hit. So there are many questions being asked because this is so rare. First, that they did it. Second, that they succeeded in reaching Israel, and then that they succeeded in reaching central Israel. So we did hear, or have heard since the attack this morning, threats from the Houthis, who are very pleased with this result, and say they threaten Israel that worse will come. Malak al-Houthi, the rebel leader, saying that leading up to October the 7th, the 1-year anniversary of Hamas's attack on Israel, there will be further attacks. And we heard that attack, the threat from Benjamin Netanyahu back to the Houthis, reminding them that in July, Israel attacked Hodeidah, the port there, after a previous attack against Israel, one that didn't reach the centre of the country. So you can see that there is an escalation and that the temperature is rising between the Houthis and Israel.
It's interesting. There's a number of developments today, Irris. Stay with us because I want to bring this by you as well and get your thoughts on this. We're hearing from the IDF today, saying there's a high probability that they may have been partially involved in the deaths of hostages in November in Gaza. Tell us about that.
Yes, 3 Israeli soldiers, 2 who were actually at the Gaza border as soldiers, and 1 who was at the rave, the dance party, the Nova Music Festival, were taken hostage on October the 7th by Hamas. Then they were, we now understand, I'm telling you what the results of the findings are, that they were killed likely in November in an attack against a Hamas militant leader, Ahmed Randour. And at the time, what Hamas said was that they had been killed in an Israeli airstrike, these 3 young men, these 3 Israeli soldiers. When their bodies were recovered in December, it transpired that they hadn't been shot, and so they weren't killed in an airstrike. In fact, it's now suspected or reported it was a byproduct of an Israeli airstrike. That is, some gas was released perhaps inside that tunnel. It's not clear exactly how, but that seems to be the conclusion. Not that satisfying for the parents, although they did bury their loved ones in January. And so I think they've had a bit more time to take it in. It isn't fresh information. I did hear an interview with one of the parents who said now he devotes all his time to freeing hostages who are living, since he only got his son back, only got his son back in a body bag.
Wow. And there's something else, Irris, that often goes kind of unnoticed in the triage of information that you have to get through, given the situation in Gaza, in Israel, Lebanon, the Houthis as well, Iran. So there's a shadow operation going on, Israeli operation in Syria last week. Only now we're getting more details starting to emerge about it. Tell us about this.
That's right. There was an Israeli airstrike against an Iranian military site in Syria, which provides sophisticated weaponry to Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's not unusual for there to be Israeli airstrikes in Syria. What is unusual about this event that took place a week ago is that it also involved a commando operation. So what was reported initially from Arab language sources is that something like 27 people were killed in this airstrike that were involved in that operation, in that area, working in that weapons facility. Some 35 missing or injured. And what we have learnt is that prior to the actual airstrike, there was a commando operation. So from the helicopter, Israeli commandos went to the site. They removed documents. they removed equipment, and we are now learning today from Arab language sources that they also possibly removed as many as 4 of the researchers who were working there and brought them back, presumably to Israel, for interrogation. Now, what's interesting about this is that we're not hearing it from Israeli sources, certainly nothing about those as many as 4 researchers brought back here, or 4 Iranian Revolutionary Guard people brought back here, officers brought back here. We're hearing it from Arab language sources. That's one thing. And the other thing that's very interesting, it's not the first time I've heard it, is the question is being asked, where was the Syrian army? And there has been this, I don't know if you want to call it a conspiracy theory or just a theory doing the rounds, that actually Syria is quite happy for Israel to remove Iran and all these Iranian military sites from its territory. It needed Assad, the president, needed Iran during his civil war, doesn't need them anymore, and perhaps doesn't want them anymore. That's being also reported in the Arab language media.